if I've talked about something that's vulnerable to me, I think that's when it hits the most.
Yeah, and what do you make of that, or how do you cope with that?
I think one thing that's helped me is just going back on the successful times that I've shared something vulnerable and people were supportive or understanding. And then I go back to group next time and like there's nothing negative from it, right? So that helps me deal with it better.
Yeah, that's great. So basically, if you hadn't shown up again, you might not have been able to challenge that feared thought that being vulnerable was going to have some type of negative consequence. So having the courage to go back into the situation and have experiential confidence that in fact nothing negative is going to happen must be really helpful for your anxiety.
Definitely.
Yeah, so that's a great example. That can happen. It's a great example for basically any time that you're vulnerable, that just if you assume that you're going to have some post-event processing and that's not necessarily significant, it doesn't mean anything bad's going to happen. That can be like another reason to have courage to be vulnerable.
That makes sense.
I know you talked last time about vulnerability. Was there anything else that you wanted to say about vulnerability?
Like I was after that talk, I was looking at why it's so difficult to be vulnerable. I think part of the reason for me is it hasn't always been successful in the past, and like there's been times where yeah, that didn't really work with that person. But then I didn't do nuance. Like I did. Well, if I can't trust that person, I probably can't trust anybody. And I think that kind of shut it down for me for several years. And now I've been able to be more vulnerable again, and it's been going well. I feel like I've been opening up to more people. So that's kind of built on success for me.
Yeah, that sounds great. I really like the way that you're owning the nuance because basically in the past, if you had an experience that gave you pain or felt hurtful, you were generalizing it to like, if it happened with this person, it's happening with everyone, as you just said. But if you let yourself have a different experience with another person, let interpersonal dynamics be nuanced, it sounds like you can have success with other people, and then that builds on itself. Um, yeah, so that is a great example of a good use of vulnerability. I think you don't want to be, it can be challenging to know with whom to be vulnerable. And so the fact that you're kind of trying it out and then seeing what the outcome is and deciding whether or not you want to continue to be vulnerable really sets you up for success.
Right. Yeah. It feels good to be able to like share some things. So it's good.
Happy to hear that. Was there anything else you were hoping to talk about this session?
I think the other one that I struggle with still is disgust because things that kind of bring that out for me happen occasionally. And I don't really know how to sensitize myself to them. Maybe it's just like struggle through the thing and then get to the other side, but maybe there's a different way.
Yeah, so disgust is a feeling that most people do not habituate to. So that can be a real challenge. But one thing that keeps disgust going is often resistance to disgust in the first place. So paradoxically, if as you feel disgust, you label it and allow it to be there, you won't habituate to it. So it won't prevent you, for instance, from not spelling something that's disgusting or seeing something that's disgusting. But if you just let yourself have that experience, it does dissipate faster. So can you tell if you're resisting against the experience of disgust?
I am, yeah, because it feels really uncomfortable to me. It feels like almost like I used to feel towards other OCD content. Like it just feels incredibly uncomfortable and I don't want to sit with it.
Okay. And are you willing to do any exposure around that? Not to habituate, but to become more willing to experience something disgusting?
Yes.
Okay. What type of exposure would you like to commit to? Like what would be an exposure in this case?
I think cleaning my bathroom would be an exposure.
Okay. That sounds great. What's making you willing to clean your bathroom?
I just I've had success with like the process part, right? And I think this could be another process, like to deal with it a little bit better.
Okay. That sounds great. Is there anything else that you want to mention or commit to?
No, I think that's it.
Okay, well, that sounds great. Looking forward to hearing about your commitment. Thank you for your time.
Okay.